Andrew, you're going to share with us today your interpretation of something that we teach inside 10x Web Copy. Tell us all about it.
Cool. So we're talking about the close, and I am calling this the most underrated part of your web copy. And we will see why I'm calling it underrated soon. I already hear Joe saying, Real quick about me before we get too far into that. My name is Andrew Yedlin. I'm a conversion copywriter, and I work mostly with SaaS companies on their website and landing page copy. What we're about to talk about applies across industries, so do not worry if you are not in SaaS. This will still apply to you. So I want to start with a quick question. It's not really a quiz because it's kind of opinion, but I want you to chat for me real quick which of these two you think is a better answer. Copywriting is art, or copywriting is sales? Let's see what people are coming back.
A or B, y'all. And people are, of course, little rule breakers throwing in their own C's.
Yeah. A lot of both. Cool. Interesting. Sales, sales, yes.
Oh,
that's
John
a
W
answer.
says hard B. Hard B. Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
B first, then A, B-ish. All right. I think I'm seeing a little bit of a lean towards sales, but there's definitely a mix. Trick question, what type of copywriting? Yeah, good stuff here. So I am going to argue the second one, that it is sales. And the only difference being that it is in writing. And rather than try to prove that point to you myself, I'm going to go ahead and borrow some authority from some copywriting legends, starting with Claude Hopkins, who wrote the book Scientific Advertising almost 100 years ago. And here Claude says, advertising is salesmanship. Its principles are the principles of salesmanship. And I know he uses the term advertising here, and I think that's because he's being inclusive of copy and design and some of the other elements. Also, websites did not exist 100 years ago. So anytime he was talking about copywriting, he was talking about advertising. But I think it would be completely fair from his perspective to substitute the word advertising for copywriting here. And I think it's also worth pointing out that he doesn't say its principles are like the principles of salesmanship or its principles are similar to the principles of salesmanship. He says its principles are the principles of salesmanship. So another copywriter, Joe Sugarman, you can go ahead and chat if any of you have read any of these books, by the way. So Joe Sugarman from the Adweek Copywriting Handbook says the steps in selling a prospect in person also apply to selling in print advertising. So now we're talking about the steps are the same. One more here from Victor O. Schwab, who wrote How to Write a Good Advertisement. He says, is advertising itself really such a complicated thing? Its basic purpose is simple, to make people buy a product or a service. And so he's really talking about the purpose here. So when we're talking about copywriting and sales together, between these three legends, we have that they say that they share the same principles, the same steps, and the same purpose. If these old dudes are not doing it for you, look no further than the front page of copyhackers.com. I don't think Joe knew that was coming.
No.
Awkward. Thought that one might. So here it says right at the beginning of the headline, copywriting is salesmanship in print. And if you scoot down to the subhead here, she says, no one's paying you to write, they're paying you to sell. And so that is where, if we go back to the question I asked you in the beginning, that's where I'm coming from with this idea that copywriting is sales, because, writing for art is great. It's separate from what we are here to talk about today. And in general, I think if you're familiar with Copy Hackers, you know that we are writing to sell, not to create an art project. So, and if I could just see real quick in the chat, do I have some people, is this resonating? Do we agree at this point for today's purposes that copywriting is sales? Just checking. Yeah, okay, cool. It's a little bit of a leading question, but.
I would say no.
So Cool. So if we are to agree that copywriting is sales, then that means that as marketers, we have to admit that we have a problem. And that problem is that we have forgotten how to close. So another thing to chat real quick, if you have ever seen either the movie or just scene from Glengarry Glen Ross, where Alec Baldwin lays into a team of salesmen and essentially tells them that they are worthless as human beings because they are not closing enough.
Coffee is for closers,
coffee is for
Dave
closers.
said. Yeah,
that's right. And today, copy is for closers. So
yeah.
what we, basically the point here is that in the world of sales, they know that it's all about the close. The close is so, so important. And if you can't do that, you're in the wrong business. But in the world of marketing and on marketing websites in particular, the art of the close seems to be completely missing. So this I took from a fast-growing SaaS company from their homepage. It's a pretty nice page. They have lots of the typical copy that you would see that's building desire, overcoming objections, and so on. But the whole thing builds up to essentially a dead end. The frequently asked questions doesn't follow a real call to action, and there's nothing really after it. It's just a total dead end, and the prospect is sort of left to, I don't know, scroll up, figure out what they want to do next. And that makes them think you want to be telling people what to do next and where to go. So sometimes you'll see this where there's just no close whatsoever. More often, you will see a really weak close. I know Joanna has talked about this before where, this really kind of lazy call to action copy of just ready to blank. I think that it's really common for us as copywriters. We put tons and tons of care and effort and attention into our headlines, and that's what everyone is looking at. But then we just kind of phone it in when it's time to close. And so you'll see this on a lot of websites. Now that I've called it out to you, you're going to see this everywhere. Just pages that end with ready to increase your sales or ready to get new insights, something like that, and then a button. And that's kind of it. And to me, that seems pretty weak. So what is the antidote to all of this? So it is really, really hard to find an example of a good close. But if you have taken 10x web copy, you have seen this example that Joanna shares from Follow Up Boss on their homepage. This does a lot more than that last example that I showed you of a final call to action on a homepage. There are all sorts of benefits and things packed in here. And there's also this mega list, which sends a really strong visual, signal that, there's a lot of stuff in this free trial. It's not just a button of a free trial. Look how much is included in that. So the question then becomes, how do I build one of these on my own? How can I close stronger? So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one way to close strong on your web pages. This is not the end all be all by any means. It is just one kind of spin that I put on what I learned from 10x web copy on closing. And in a moment, we're going to go through a live example, but first I'm just going to walk you through how this works. And before I go much further, I'm going to take a sip of water and just check chat to see if there's anything. Is that their homepage copy? Yeah, so if you're talking about Follow Up Boss, I believe that is from the homepage.
Yeah, at the bottom of the page. One note, Cami doesn't like Alec Baldwin. Cami, we now have a problem. Just kidding. 30 Rock. Come on, we gotta love Mr. Baldwin. People who do crazy things, I don't know him personally. However, obviously I don't know him personally. I think it's obvious. But yeah, all right, here we go. Andrew?
All right, cool.
Do this action?
Yep, so we're gonna make our two lists, and the first list is going to be a list of what I call propellants. So these are factors that move your prospect closer to yes. So that might be things like desired outcomes, benefits, advantages, and so on. And the second list is going to be a list of repellents. So these are obstacles that stop your prospect from saying yes. So those are objections, hesitations, and anxieties, things like that. And I have a little asterisk here for obstacles because It doesn't matter if those obstacles are real or not. If your prospects perceive that those obstacles exist or that they might exist, then you might as well treat it as real, because all of this is taking place in their minds, not necessarily in reality. So what do I mean? Like, what does this really mean? Propellants and repellents, it's kind of vague. So I'm actually going to go ahead and spell out exactly what I mean by this and give you some questions that you can use to prompt yourself to create these two lists. So your list of propellants is going to be the answer to 3 questions. And these are all written from the first person perspective of your prospect. So what do I get means what does the prospect get? So this first one is what do I get? And that's very much about the what is the keyword there. What we're talking about things like features, like what do I actually get? If this whole offer was in a box, what would be in the box? 2, how does this get me closer to my goals? So now we're talking about things that are more like benefits, desired outcomes, and so on. And the third one is how soon will I get value? And this one is included because there is a psychological concept called temporal discounting. And basically what that means is the longer that I have to wait to get value, the more I will discount or ignore that value. So if I think that something that I'm going to get, something awesome today, I'm really excited about that. If I think I'm going to get something awesome a year from now, I am much, much less excited about that, even to the point where it will defy logic. So even if I'm getting something, so the example might be, if I could get $100 today or $200 in a month, a lot of people who don't need the $100 today will still take it today, because our brains are wired to prefer things that are happening sooner rather than things that are happening later. I hope that was explained okay. But moving on to the list of repellents. So for repellents, you're first going to want to say, you're going to want to write some answers to why is this low risk? The second thing you're going to want to answer is why should I trust you? And then finally, which objections and hesitations can you help me overcome? So go ahead and if you want a screenshot of this, go ahead and take that real quick because we're going to do a live example and you're going to see all of this again. So let's go ahead and do this live. I'm just going to check on chat real quick, see if there's anything else. All right, don't see anything. So I'm going to go ahead and start to do a live, oh, it stopped sharing. So let me go ahead and share again.
This is bold, and Jen says this is awesome.
Good, exciting stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this website, Whatagraph. I don't know a ton about them other than that I've gone through the page a couple of times. So everything I know is really just pulled from the homepage and a couple of other places on the website. So I'm just going to scroll real slowly here. Hopefully that's not nauseating so that you can just see what the page looks like. We have features, integrations, some social proof, CR pricing, footer. So what happened here?
No clothes.
No clothes.
CR pricing.
CR pricing. It's like they don't want you to. And also, I don't know if that was strategic, but I have to imagine that what they really want to go for are the free trials here. That's their main call to action up here. So poor Whatagraph does not have a close. We are going to go ahead and build one for them. And hopefully Ange and Joe are keeping an eye on the time. So if I start to, if this takes a little bit too long, just let me know. I do have a completed version of this that we can skip to. So the first question is, what do I get? So again, this is more about like features and kind of like what's in the box. So luckily we have this feature section right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start copying and pasting stuff into my list. So I have deliver reports automatically. Doesn't matter that these aren't phrased like features right now because I can change them later. Style reports any way you want. Build report in 10 minutes or less. Okay, I see it's actually using customizable, ready to go templates here. Transfer data. Okay, so this looks like APIs and transferring from different sources. To go ahead and include that. Team up with colleagues, collaborate with your team. So again, just like for things that are more like things and less like some sort of outcome or benefit that I'm getting eventually. Integrations is big. Let's see how many they have. 30 integrations. What else? They probably have some form of support. Let's check out the pricing page. Live chat support. Okay. All right. And I'm just going to start with that in the interest of time. So I'm going to go back to their homepage now and say, okay, so how does this get me closer to my goals? So we're going to have to do some inferring here. I haven't done any research on this. So from what I can tell, just by looking at the page, it seems to have, the value prop seems to be something around how it's going to let you quickly build compelling reports that allow your team to take action on data and probably to, make more profitable decisions or something along those lines. So I'm just going to write down build compelling reports. Yeah, let's just leave that for now because we can get this nice and polished at the end. And the second thing is that it's going to help me save time in the process. So in terms of how soon do I get value, since they're claiming here that you can build a report in 10 minutes or less and there's a free trial, I don't have any reason to believe that you couldn't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and make that assumption that, oops, easy, that's not what we wanted.
While you're doing that, Bruno also already guessed at that and put down 10 minutes for how soon will I get value.
Awesome.
Well done.
Great job, Bruno.
Learning. It's great.
Perfecto. Okay, cool. So now in terms of repellent, so we're talking about a free trial offer. So you might think that that is already pretty low risk. And I will actually agree with you that that is one thing that makes this low risk. And we can come back to that in a second, but I'm going to skip ahead. So why should I trust you? So there are a lot of different ways to build credibility on your page, and this is not that talk, but one that is a pretty, again, if we're talking about kind of like visual signals, because you can't, this is the end of the page. You can't, if you repeat everything that you already said, you're just going to end up with like two versions of the page. So that's why part of what we're doing here is we're building a list of features. We're not trying to create like direct response style fascinations, like monitor multiple channels at once so that you can X, Y, and Z and blah, blah, blah. Instead of, it's not like that. It's more of a summary of the offer. And so in that spirit of kind of just, if you have testimonials on your page, we can also kind of summarize social proof and credibility and things like that. And these badges in SaaS are a very common way to do that. So Capterra, G2 Crowd, things like that. So I'm just going to put this here as the why should I trust you? And it's just a very basic way to say that, other people started their free trial and they lived to tell the tale, and they even went and left a 4 or 5 star review for us. So now in terms of objections, I'm going to brainstorm a few on my own. Feel free for the exercise if you'd like to brainstorm a few on your own as well. So right now I'm going to say, okay, how long is the free trial? And I think it's 7 days, I think I saw. Another question I might have is, do I need to enter a credit card? I believe there is no credit card required for this trial. And another one that I can think of is, do I get access to all features during the trial? Cool, cool. So what I have down here is just a little kind of placeholder of what I was going to turn that into. But I also have a completed version here, and you'll see that some things are a little bit different than they were before, but ultimately this is what we ended up with. So first we have proximity to value here. Your first report is ready in as little as 10 minutes. Build compelling reports fast and help your team make more profitable decisions. So here we're really talking about proximity to value and how does this get you closer to your goals. So those two categories that we listed out earlier. Then here we have the, what do I get kind of stuff here. Let's see how many we ended up with. 3, 6, 9. Yeah, okay. So I think that qualifies as a mega list. I don't know if there's like a threshold, like, oh, nope, sorry, it has to be 10 or more.
Yeah. Just met it, yeah. Just at 9, you just got it, yeah.
I think so, yeah. It has to be 9 or it's not a mega list. So again, sending this really strong visual signal of like, oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. And again, these aren't direct response style fascinations. It's a summary of the offer. This stuff has been covered earlier on the page, and now we're summarizing it. Now we have a compelling call to action, some click trigger copy that assuages some of those fears and concerns. So try it free for 7 days, no credit card required, access to all features, and should I trust you? Here are the badges that sort of summarize that social proof. And if they really wanted that plans or pricing thing to stay in there for some reason, what you can also do is they could have a secondary call to action here that says see plans or pricing. So this could be a button, and that other one could just be a link so that there's a strong visual cue that this is the primary call to action and the other one is not. But again, for people who aren't ready to take that offer, there is still another way for them to go a little bit further into the funnel.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Ange. Thanks
Much.
Andrew. See you guys next week. Have a good one. Stay safe.